So what we are now going to have is a rapid-fire session of presentations by eight entrepreneurs representing different EdTech organizations. Let me just explain to you and for them exactly how this is going to work. These are the 8 colleagues who are going to present from the top across to the right, from the bottom across to the right. They're sitting here in order. They will each, very well organized, they will each present from the lectern. We have one continuous presentation. And in between each presentation, there is a series of mugshots. So if I could ask colleagues, when you've finished your presentation, click forward 1 page to represent the pictures of 8 people, and then the next page is the first page of the next presentation. We aim that each presentation should be around 5 minutes. In the interest of overall time management, which I'll come back to, and of fairness, I am going to broadly keep time. And so they and you may hear a voice saying 1 minute. Okay, and that's what that is. It's not 1 minute until general evacuation. I hope that's clear. Let's start. Rebecca from Twinkle.
Good afternoon. So my name's Rebecca and I'm joining you from Twinkle, where I act as Director of Education. And it's an absolute honour to be here today, having heard such amazing presentations this morning about where we can really be going with the possibility of AI for those who teach. And I think for us at Twinkle, this is something we're particularly passionate about, because since our inception in 2010, we've been working incredibly hard to think about innovative ways to use digital technology to support over 21 million educators in over 195 countries and territories to reduce their workload while improving outcomes for all learners. And this is why we're particularly excited by AI. Because it opens up so many possibilities. And I think, as Simon rightly said this morning, it supersizes the potential of what we can do. And I think AI is particularly important, as we've also heard this morning, because it could actually be the key to solving 3 of the biggest problems we currently face globally in terms of education. And as you all know, that's the recruitment and retention crisis, teacher well-being, and the learning gap post-COVID. And I think the reason that we feel AI is so important inside solving these particular issues is that the key to most of those problems is teacher workload. If you can actually reduce the workload of teachers to free them up to do what's important, and that's working with individual learners and creating the right scaffolding resources for the personalised learning experiences we know they need, we can start really having an impact in those areas, and teachers are not going to feel the burnout they're currently feeling, and they're going to want to continue in education. And that is why I think AI is so special and so important right now for us as educators. So how do we use AI to achieve this? Well, basically, what we've been doing over the last 18 months at Twinkle is developing a suite of, now I think it's 132 tools to support educators at every single stage of their career. And basically, it can do all of the admin from behind the scenes that we were thinking about earlier, in terms of the curriculum development, the assessment for learning, and the report writing. And what we found since starting to develop these tools is, on average, teachers can save between 4 and 6 hours of time per week by using AI to support what they would be doing anyway. And that is where I think we've got this real concept of innovation taking place with AI. So as I was saying, what we've done specifically at Twinkle, we've developed suites of AI tools to support educators at every single stage of their career, because we know from all of the data that's been coming out across the world, across Europe, across the UK, head teachers, subject leaders and educators are all feeling burnt out trying to be perfect right now. And what AI can do is actually help bridge that gap and allow you to be the best teacher you want to be, whilst having AI in your corner as a supportive assistant to make it more of a realistic challenge. So in terms of our most popular tools, I think we've got over 132, and our team of expert educators are developing more every single week. You can see from the most popular tools sort of up on the screen here now, they kind of fall into those key areas that Charles Clark was referencing earlier. It's lesson planning, it's curriculum planning, it's scaffolding, it's assessment for learning, and it's report writing. And I think AI here brings something else to the table as well, because we also know inside the recruitment and retention crisis that schools are struggling to recruit subject specialists. So if you're teaching outside of your subject, you might really struggle to do that top-end level 9 example or exemplar essay. AI can actually bridge that gap and make sure that you're teaching to the top and scaffolding back and serving all of the children in your care to the best of your abilities as an educator. So how good is it? I guess in some respects, we're in the early stages of AI still, but I would say it's frighteningly good. My background is I'm a journalist, I'm a writer, former head teacher. So I would say my writing's pretty good. When I joined Twinkle, I did a quick test and I got it to rewrite my CV. It did the whole thing in about 55 seconds, nearly as well as I could. I only had to change about 7 words. That was frightening and awe-inspiring at the same time. But let's take it back a step to what you'd be using it for predominantly as an educator. I've made a short video now of basically one of the most popular tools, and that's the AI Lesson Builder. So basically, all an educator needs to do is just type in lesson topic, learning objective, subject, and any scaffolding needs. And what's going to happen in under 55 seconds, once again, it is going to generate a basic lesson plan. The teacher could then pop that into whatever they needed for the whole scheme of work or onto their school performer for this particular task. This really helps you if you're a teacher and you're stuck and you're tired, because it takes that emphasis away and gives you a starting point. And what's particularly unique about Twinkle's offer is, as I said before, we've been operating now since 2010. We've got a back catalogue of resources for education content that what it does at the same time, it will pull that up and give you as well. So you get your lesson plan and you get the content, the scaffolded material that you want to be teaching from expert educators. So you've got that air of confidence that what you're putting in front of students is absolutely right for them. But we don't think at any point, as other people have said this morning, AI should replace teachers. We know from COVID that people matter. So I think we see it as part of a triangle. It's a supportive element that can absolutely supersize, to quote Simon again, the education process that we're sort of sitting inside. But people matter, and people can never be replaced by AI. What I would like to leave you on is your opportunity, as Kevin said earlier, is to play with the future. If you'd like to take your phone out and scan that, we're going to leave the Twinkle site open for you for the next 24 hours to have a go for yourselves and have a look at how these tools actually work. So if you take a picture of the code, pop that in later and follow those steps, you'll be able to have a look at Twinkle Array and Twinkle AI when you've got a little bit more time to enjoy making crosswords and doing some of the wonderful things this programme can do. And I'm just going to pop one final slide on before Mark kind of air horns me for going over time. If you have any further questions, please reach out to myself, John Seaton, CEO, or David, or pop me an email. Thank you very much for your time today.
You can see, can't you? It's a challenge. But all good entrepreneurs should be able to pitch their businesses in 5 minutes, I would say. Next, Ian from Merlin Mind.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. As we've all been saying, there's so much that we're learning, and hopefully what I'm able to share with you is the journey that Dr. Satya Nitya, an AI researcher, and his team have been doing now over more than 10 years. So what is Merlin? Merlin is an assistant for the classroom, for the teacher. We've heard so much about how important it is to have the human in the loop, and Dr. Nitya has certainly had that at the core of what his team, both in the US and also in India, have been doing now for more than 10 years, but very much supporting the students' learning, but under the control of the teacher. Professor Rose Looking, in a note this week, said how important it is that we're not simply beholden to the Microsofts, the Amazons, the Googles of this world, but there is more innovation coming out in terms of innovation in large language models. And if you look at Hugging Face for Merlin Mind, then they have published and shared a number of the large language models that they have uniquely created. And as I found out yesterday, they have built a small family of models, 16 in total. So rather than going for the largest large language models, Dr. Nitya and his team have been going for the smallest large language models that give an accurate answer because of sustainability and the cost of compute power. They started with speech. So a lot of technology actually ties the teacher to the front of the classroom, and giving the teachers the freedom to teach from anywhere in the classroom, but still using the technologies that they have was felt to be very important. So now, as a teacher, rather than being here, I could literally be amongst you as my students and still using my voice to control the technology. This has been researched by the people at University of California, Irvine branch, and has proved that they have been able to save time for teachers, about an hour and a half a week, from not being here and walking back and forwards to the technology, and also reduce teachers' stress. So that research is publicly available. They had already developed their large language models, and so thanks to OpenAI for educating the world about generative AI, then they've been able to release a lot of the information that they have in terms of private, safe, and secure generative AI, not just for use in the classroom, but also to help foster students' curiosity, higher order thinking, and something which I personally am very interested in, how the use of this technology can help improve students' oracy skills. And I know there was a question beforehand about what age should we start to learn these skills. I would say from as soon as the student can talk. So the sooner we learn these skills, the better it is for everyone. The platform that they've developed has a lot of the functionality that we've been talking about this morning, including RAG and long-term memory. And it is something that as a platform is available to people who have content. So whether it's our friends at Twinkle or the friends here at Cambridge, then these are solutions which are much more sustainable and affordable. The team that actually developed all of this technology, some of them are shown here, and it is a credit to Dr. Nisser and his team, both AI researchers as well as educational and technologists, sort of from a whole range of different industries. I think the diversity of the team and the skills of the team have developed something that is truly world-class, and I would be very happy to share more about this later on. So thank you very much.
Now, third, Yukun from Klassen.
Thank you, Mark. I've not been timed like this for a while, so I listen to Eminem sometimes, so here it goes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yukun. I am the Global Business Management Development Manager at Klassen. And today, I would like to share with you who we are, what we've done, and what we have in store for the future. In short, Klassen is basically the builder of a futuristic learning environment, both in the physical as well as in the virtual world. I know what you're thinking. You probably are trying to tell me, drop the jargons and tell me in more specifically what you do. So I'm going to specifically tell you what we do by telling you the story between us and one of our most important partners, which are also in the audience today, the folks from Peking University. So 4 years ago, as we all know, COVID shut down the whole world. Majority of the universities in China opted in for the massive online open course program, which is a better way of saying, let the students learn from YouTube. PKU insisted that they're gonna run live stream lessons in the spirit of upkeeping the quality of delivery. So at that point, we're 2 weeks out from the start of semester. And within that 2 weeks, we did the impossible, basically. We worked with the entire faculty members, 3,000 of them, with the university, get them familiarized with the system, and the moment when the new school calendar started running, every student, 40,000 of them, were studying online, no problem. So fast forward 1 year in 2021, PKU decided to open itself more to the world and also learn better from the world. So this is where we came up together with the PKU Global Open Course Program. This is a program of a university alliance, 12 of them exactly. Hundreds of students, many different continents, many different courses, and every single institution brought their own institution-specific modules and courses and share with the entire cohort. And basically the idea is that we want to widen the scope, widen the possibilities for students to learn more from other cultures and other countries without needing to travel the geographies. And that proved to be a tremendous success. In this program, basically what we have done for the PKU cohort is that we have provided them with our hardware solution, which is large screen displays, AI microphones, AI cameras, which I'll talk more in detail later on, and also the software, which you can see on the screenshots, the class in virtual classroom. This whole combination really provides a very, very democratic and immersive learning environment. And essentially, the remote students don't feel like they are being blocked by a screen. They actually feel like they were there. We saw friendships form. We saw collaborations begin throughout these programs. And now these programs are getting scaled up every year. And it's going to be an annually recurring program going forward. So that's something we can be very, very proud of. So how exactly did we do this? We did this by, first of all, doing our hardware solution. 3 major pieces. Interactive flat panel, 110 inches large. Nobody makes that large. Teacher-student tracking camera. These have AI algorithm built into it so that when you move around, you feel like you're never really out of the focus. And thirdly, the 360-degree ceiling microphone, which basically helps you to pick up all the voices so that I don't have to stand here. I can walk around everywhere I go. And everyone, not just yourselves, but also the people who call in from online, can hear us properly and they can talk to us. That's something pretty tremendous because what ends up happening is that we can always change the design of the furniture inside the classroom, and we don't have to think twice about where the camera is, where the microphone is. Doesn't matter. This period will do it this way, that period will do it that way. Simple. So as you can see, we are able to put this kind of setup into a very versatile set of scenarios, from one-to-one office room brainstorming to as large as gigantic couple hundred lecture theaters. No problem. So what does AI have to do with all of this? Basically, what we have done is that we have tremendous data collection capabilities. And we have been able to extract these teaching and learning data from our hardware to provide it to the relevant institutions that can then derive pedagogical reports to understand how well the teachers and students are doing in these lessons. Basically, the 3 things that we wanted to find out from the reports: number 1, are the classrooms effective? Number 2, are the classroom discussions fair? Number 3, are the classroom dynamic democratic? And in terms of software, is a big conversation. AI fundamentally changes the way society works, therefore education. So today, this opportunity is for us to actually do an open call to speak to everyone that's interested. Academics or peers in the industry, if you would like to collaborate, we're all talks. And we're going to walk the talk afterwards. So thank you very much.
Next, Harold from Ludenso.
My name is Harold Mannheim. I'm the co-founder and CPO of Ludenso. And we work together with publishing companies to make learning come to life with 3D and augmented reality. And we do this by making 2 products: an editor platform for editors and authors, and a classroom product for the teachers and students. Is there anyone here who works with textbooks or learning materials as an editor or as a teacher? A few? Yeah? So this tool is hopefully letting you focus on the pedagogy, while we enable you to also use 3D as part of your package of available tools for education. And I'm personally vested in making school better. This is my 2-year-old son who has a 15,000-hour-long journey ahead of him in school. And we have, in Norway, we have over 20% of the post-COVID classes now not finishing school in the given time. And in the US, there are 80% of students saying they are experiencing disengagement at one point throughout their school. So quite bad numbers for students saying they aren't engaged. And I'm not saying that Ludenso is fixing all these problems, but I'm confident we could be part of the solution, which is creating both a more engaging school and also providing some digital tools that makes it easier to be both an editor and a teacher in the classroom. So I want to talk a bit about Ludenso Studio, which is our developer or our no-code browser-based studio for enriching a textbooks or learning material. So if you are an editor and you make a book about anatomy and it's about the brain and you search in our tool for a 3D model of a brain, you can simply just drag and drop it into the page, annotate it with the level and language you want to provide to your students. So you can annotate with labels saying exactly what you want to do in relation to what's in the textbook, and then hit publish, and then all the students and teachers who are in your realm will have access to it. And Ludenso Explore is then the tool for presenting this to the classroom. So we do that in several ways. Maybe the simplest way is just presenting it for the big screen with the teachers. So the main onboarding there is just helping them navigate on a 3D, in a 3D space. I think the presentation by Mr. Clark was very spot on my experience as well, that we have a lot of schools who have received many iPads or many laptops, but without giving teachers the proper education on how to use it in an educational setting. And I think this is something we must do better, and the government as well. But I think also if you are a classroom with AR-enabled devices, we can also provide then very rich AR experiences already with mainly mobile devices. We tested it also with headset, but that's of course a few years ahead in terms of cost and complexity. But since we are today working or talking about AI, I want to bring some specific examples, real-world cases on how we use AI with our partners today. So, for example, with a Norwegian client, Aschehoug, we tested with one editor who made 50 3D models together with a textbook without any help from us, and one who got where we made a suggestion with the help of AI, who populated the book, and they could just X out what they didn't like and edit what they liked. And it really sped up the production process. 1 minute. Same with Plantin, where we helped them generate labels for the models, and they can just X out what they didn't like, edit what they liked. So I think our main approach to using AI in education would be to help editors speed up the production process. That was my learnings, and I hope some of you might want to collaborate with me in the future. So thank you for the attention.
Very good, thank you. 4 down, 4 to go. Number 5, Rohan from Speechmatics.
Thanks so much, Mark. I hope everybody can hear me clearly. Thanks so much for having me here. It's, in the words of this generation, it's been awesome listening to all the talks, and it opened my mind quite a bit. So about me, I work at Speechmatics. I'm a product manager there. Speechmatics is a company that focuses on conversational AI, primarily on speech-to-text. And that's because I'm here because there's a personal belief. I was a software engineer. I was a developer. And I felt very empowered to be able to talk to a machine and to get it to do what I told it to. And I feel like speech is something that we're all accustomed to listening, saying it out loud. And rather than trying to take people away towards tools and trying to coach them and train them how to talk to tools, why can't we bring the tools to them? And that's why I'm here in this space, try to get everybody talking to tools in a way that helps them. Now, why is this important in EdTech? So the modern day Gurukul for everyone. And from India, back in, I think, thousands and thousands of years ago, education was passed down from teacher to student under a tree. And why was that? Because they had no other medium. But when you think about through the ages, books were invented. education was still done from teachers to students in a classroom. And today, which is the middle one and the last one, these are all generative AI, by the way. I wasn't there for any of them. So in today's time, you see people using different tools in the classrooms, different tools at home to be educated. But why does voice continue to be important? Is because we deem it to. And I think that's one of the biggest thought processes that drives me forward. Somebody said today morning that the future belongs to those who prepare for it. I would just like to build on that and say future belongs to those who build for it. And that's what we've been seeing since the morning is builders, everybody. Now, that's why I feel like voice will remain the future of education. And recent advances in AI basically attach booster rockets to it. Just some examples, right? Lightning fast transcription, which is basically speech to text, and translation make education available to everybody in real time, especially the people who are hearing impaired. It makes it very accessible to them. People who are learning in a different language, it makes it easier for them to learn from different teachers. Accurate and localized summaries create great notes to refer to. We love encouraging students to take notes, but sometimes for people like myself, I can't write and pay attention at the same time. So having a note taker for me would absolutely be great, especially for exams. Then the third part is topics let students follow the rabbit hole towards multiple wonderlands. So I was one of those people who would always go down the Wikipedia rabbit hole, where on a single page you would have a bunch of hyperlinks and you open 28 tabs by the end of one article for different things, and somehow while starting from learning about an abacus, I'm learning out the Raphael. I have no idea how I landed there. But the premise is we've heard so much of no child left behind, and that's about raising the minimum threshold of quality education that we provide, but also no child limited is by making sure that we enable the students who want to learn, who are curious, to go down whatever rabbit holes they may want, and not limiting their learning ability by the infrastructure or by our ability to not be creative in those methods. And which brings me to this. So this is just an example of some of the capabilities that we offer today. And if there's any slide I want to leave you all with, it's this slide. Don't think about AI as this behemoth, because it can be fearful, it can be intimidating, but think about it in terms of what you want from AI. Do you want it to do transcription? Do you want it right here on your device? Do you want it in the cloud in the software? Do you want it to find topics for you? Do you want it to summarize something? Do you want it to translate something? And think of these as building blocks. And for example, the ones that we've highlighted is that if you use these building blocks together, educational courses offered in multiple languages with topics highlighted and lessons summarized is one of the outcomes. There are multiple different outcomes depending on which tile you highlight. So go to, I would say, of course, vested interest, but go to speechmatics.com, which is our website, and check out some of these capabilities and play around with it. There's no need to code, but make sure you get creative. As I said, future, in my opinion, belongs to the builders, and everybody can be a builder regardless if you know how to prompt engineer or code or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Tu from Smart Learning.
It all started with a question. I was visiting Professor Rupert Vederif, and he asked the question, can AI be used to moderate dialogue? And of course, dialogue is essential for learning and for education. And as it turned out, the answer is it can, and it's really, really good at it. And so why should we look into this even further? Well, as mentioned, dialogue forms the foundation for learning. It forms the foundation for democracy. It forms the foundation for problem solving. So it's really, really an interesting thing. And we're looking into this, but it seems that you can reach a higher quality, you can get a better inclusion, you can get a better scalability when you have a dialogue. And let's take a look at the problem. You've all been in a class, you have 30 students, a dialogue is going on, you have a conversation. 10 students are actively engaging in the dialogue. What about the rest, the 20? And if you move the discussion or the conversation online, it's even more short-lived and even poorer. So you could do something really important if you could improve dialogue. In one instance, you can imagine the teacher dividing the students into groups, sending them out, having the dialogue maybe in groups of 5, and the moderation is done by the artificial intelligence. It could be a Nest speaker in the room, it could be through a browser and writing. And it would make sure that everyone is heard. Even if they cannot make up their mind what their opinion is, it can provide them with additional information in order for them to make up their minds. And it can make sure that they can summarize the conversation, that they can get transcripts of the conversation, and so forth. We're currently building the minimal viable product. In this version, we'll make text and audio available. We will make sure that they can be in the same room, for instance, with a Nest speaker, or apart, their choice. They can do it synchronously or asynchronously. So it can take just a short duration or a long time. The dialogue is adjustable. So you would create a moderation profile. Maybe it's for young kids, maybe it's for K-12, maybe it's for university, maybe they're discussing politics or physics. But you can adjust the profile so the behavior of the moderator will change accordingly. And the assistance is adjustable. Maybe you like the students who get stuck to get help, maybe you won't. It's up to the teacher to decide how much assistance should the system provide. And the output is also adjustable. Maybe they just want a summary, maybe they want a transcript, maybe the teacher wants all the transcripts, all the summaries, or maybe the teacher wants to have them merged so they can get an overview of the discussion very quickly. It's all possible. And of course, we are doing this as open source. We hope that others will be using the software and improving upon it, and so we can develop a fully fledged product. And what's really nice about this, when you speak about AI usually, you have the machine and the student. And this is really not much fun in the long run. And you have cognitive offloading. But in this case, the students get engaged with each other in a conversation, and you don't have cognitive offloading, you have exactly the opposite. You use your brain, you are engaged in dialogue, and as we all know, the brain functions as a muscle. The more it's used, the better it becomes, the stronger it becomes. So we don't want the offloading, we want the opposite. And so in this way, we'll be using artificial intelligence to promote human intelligence and connection.
Penultimately, Kevin Tist.
Thank you. You get a double act today. So I'm here not just in my capacity with DEFI, but also in the work that I do with the NGO, the International Small Group and Tree Planting Program, based in East Africa and southern India, where off and on for 20 years I've been assisting in education and more recently in technology-enhanced dialogue education in informal environments. TIST operates, as I said, across East Africa and southern India and is comprised of 220,000 smallholder farmers around that region. And what I want to emphasize for today's brief talk is that this is the educational context with the farmers that with whom TIST is working, very similar to what Rohan just expressed. It's education that happens under a tree. It's dialogue-based, and it's peer-to-peer. And as I began working with TIST, we co-developed a mobile education platform to support smallholder farmers in this environment. And after running that platform for a couple of years, we looked for new opportunities for it to scale. And what we identified was using existing social media tools like WhatsApp, which is ubiquitous across East Africa, as a vehicle for further education. So we've shifted, and we've now made WhatsApp and a WhatsApp chatbot the learner-facing interface for this mobile education platform. What you have up here is this was the first iteration of the chatbot. It was proscriptive and menu-based. We were very excited when we launched it a little over a year ago, and we're very disappointed when nobody was using it. And the reason nobody was using it after analysis was because it wasn't dialogue-based. It was a glorified bank chatbot. You entered a 4, you entered a keyword, and you got out a bunch of information. So we took a step back and rethought, how can we push it now to be less like interacting with a machine and more like interacting with your peers in the way that farmers are used to in those rural environments. So, working with our project partner Infobip, we rejiggered the system and built in a ChatGPT-3 generative AI component to this chatbot. It is in multiple languages, available in both English and Kenyan Swahili. It is very intuitive to use, and it's trained on the material that TIST has collected over the last 20 years working with farmers. It contains both programmatic information about TIST, as well as general agricultural information, health, as well as things like carbon cycle, carbon science, and that's because TIST deals with carbon credits. So I have here, this is what the current chatbot looks like, and you can see a video in the middle showing interaction with the current iteration of the bot. Right now it is in English, and it can spit out a very good answer in just a few seconds in English, but it can also do it again in Swahili, which we see here. And interestingly enough, it also did Swahinglish very, very well. We're not quite sure why that worked, but it does. There you go in Swahili. So next steps, because we can still push this further. We're in the process of reviewing all the information that has been used to train this bot, to make it better, more accurate, and less prone to hallucination. The iteration 2 I just showed you was launched in November of 23. We're a few weeks away from being able to launch iteration 3. We're going to expand it to include 20 years of knowledge capital gathered by TIST. They've been issuing monthly newsletters to farmer groups every month for 20 years, and that information contains really rich farmer-led knowledge that we're going to build into the model. But the first thing we have to solve are the challenges of dialect. I mentioned that currently it's in Kenyan Swahili. That really irks our Tanzanian colleagues who do not want to interact with it. And it's a challenge because the automatic translation tools that sit on top of this chatbot do not do it into a Tanzanian Swahili dialect. So we're having to explore options in order to open that up, as well as potentially open it up to the 13 tribal languages in the areas that TIST operates. And then finally, we'd like to integrate it into WhatsApp communities. So instead of it being an individual interacting with a dialogue bot, to actually have the bot itself be a personality within a community group, where it can then do the things that Tu just discussed, where it can actually act as a moderator and have groups of farmers learning from each other, but facilitated by a AI-based bot. So thank you very much. If you'd like to learn more about TIST, come find me afterwards or do the QR code.
Thank you. And then last, but absolutely not least, Piyush from Platonia.
Well, there's been a lot of conversation about AI, and I can sense a palpable sense of excitement and anxiety about how AI might impact education. Well, to be frank, I'm quite over it now. I'm bringing humans back into the conversation. So I am part of an initiative called the Learning Web. We are building the first skill graph in my knowledge. And this is an initiative supported by Innovate UK. And I'm also supported by DEFI, which I'm really grateful for. So what is the role of humans now with all this AI advancement? And our thesis is that humans are nowhere to go. I mean, humans have an essential role to play. The skills that human-led pedagogy might emphasize on might change. So things like learning how to swim, you can't really rely on ChatGPT in learning how to swim. Learning how to drive, you might appreciate a human in support sitting next to you. Learning how to cook, it helps when someone looks over your shoulder. So there are things that humans are clearly better at, and also modalities of teaching in which humans are better at humans as far as now. And in my opinion, it would never change. Things like shared empathy. Humans are really good at thinking from the learner's point of view and fill in the gaps. Things like creativity and humor, as one of the audience members mentioned. But also one-on-one wisdom and guidance would always be there. And our thesis is that learning is a social activity. Connection is important to learning. I remember, just as a personal anecdote, that I learned how to care for my household plants from my neighbor. She was an elderly Chinese lady. I connected with her, and she certainly saved my plants from certain death. And I learned how to program from my roommate. And I remember these instances because they're emotional for me. There was empathy and connection involved. Whereas things I've learned through ChatGPT or online courses, I don't really tend to retain that very well. So our thesis is that learning is very important. But what prevents learning, this kind of learning and connecting experiences currently, especially online, is there's no data on anyone's skill set. Many of you might have met new people, strangers, or made new friends today. You might have exchanged LinkedIn profiles. But we have no idea of the skill set that is available in this community. So the part of the mission of the Learning Web is to get that data online, which recipes you know, which languages you speak, what courses you took in college. There's no single platform where that data is available. And there's no online way to enable learning-based connections, even though many of our friendships are formed over a learning context in schools, colleges, interaction with neighbors and friends. So the Learning Web is a way to scale one-on-one learning so this is the solution to this set of problems. It's a product which will provide everyone with a skill-based identity online, options to request to learn, offer to teach, and also earn through optional donation. So if you see that graph on the right, you might want to learn how to drive, and a driving instructor costs $35 an hour, and that interaction is very transactional. It's not really connecting, and it's expensive, whereas a friend might support you in learning how to drive for free or something as simple as a coffee. So there's a lot of cost savings available there. The thesis behind this, so in the sharing economy, has always been this question. The sharing economy, Uber and Airbnb, they allow you to turn your personal assets into sources of income. And it has always been a question whether that's possible in education, whether your skills are your assets, and you could potentially utilize them. But currently, no online player has been able to unlock that human potential through your extra assets, your skills. And that's because the data isn't there, and the Learning Web would create that data. So I've kind of validated this through many experiments, whether learning for connection or connection through learning works. And I found many communities which are doing that. They are time banking institutes and local exchange trading systems. And this is the long-term vision behind the Learning Web. So once you have the data on people's skill set online, that would enable many things. That would enable many different applications that can be built on top of it, like cooking classes, neighborhood driving lessons, mentorship sessions. It can decrease loneliness. You can use it to make new friends. You could use it for language swaps and things like that. So currently, the product is, so why now? And I don't have much time to talk about it. But basically, I think this is the right time because the role of humans in education is changing. And Zoom and online learning has made it all possible for us to connect online through learning. The product is currently a prototype. I request that you go, it's at a URL called platonia.network. And I'm especially looking for any allies, mentors, feedback. I could use any help that I can get in launching this. Thank you.